Okay, now we are live on Facebook finally. Okay, Maria, can you kindly unmute yourself?
Yes.
Yes, hello, finally it worked. Hopefully it worked, I mean.
Finally, yes. It was so embarrassing to see that everybody can hear you and see you, but I couldn't join you there. So
yeah,
it's working now.
Yeah, such a shame and such a pity, yes. Well, thank you so much to everyone who's watching us right now. I hope it's working, and I hope we will be able to read your comments also. I'm using my phone, and I hope that we can see the comments. So welcome to our event. You know, the topic of the event, it's about games. We are going to be talking about game-based approach, learning and teaching. And my name is Svetlana Lichman, or Lana, and I've been working in teaching industry for many years and in many roles. And this is one of my projects that I do like once in a while, just like what I invite different speakers from all over the world where we discuss different interesting things that learners can benefit from, as well as educators also can benefit from. So today I have a very special guest speaker, Maria Asim, who's from Pakistan. And we will be talking about many interesting things. So Maria, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Lana. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you, everyone, for bearing with us, being so patient and staying with us. Thanks a lot. It means a lot, seriously. So my name is Maria Asim, and I'm from Pakistan, as Lana has already introduced. Me and Lana met 2 years back in Turkey when we were doing our Delta course together. So since then we are together, we are talking, and we are, initiating a lot of things, planning a lot of things. So need your support and encouragement and motivation to help us through this journey. Right now I'm teaching. And it's quite a few years that I'm in the field of teaching, and it's really surprising sometimes, it's really challenging sometimes, and it's really different every day. So I think a teacher cannot say that something that's working for me cannot work for all others out there, because it's the real time challenge. You are there, the floor is yours, you are the magician, and you have to capture that floor at that moment. So teaching is really difficult, plus it's really rewarding as well. Emotional reward, psychological reward, and something that you are giving back to the society. That's something very important in teaching.
Yeah, you put it so nicely, like all these kinds of rewards, and also like what we give to the society, right? That it's not only about teaching, but also about giving what we give to the society. Yeah. Thank you so much for such a lovely introduction. I can see some people watching us, so thank you again so much for your patience. So I guess we shall start right with the first question, and we can share our ideas. And also, if you have any comments, I can see some comments. I will be reading them on my phone, so please don't think that I'm getting distracted somewhere. Just like I will be reading comments on the phone. Okay, so the first thing, so let's talk a little bit about game-based approach, right? So game-based teaching and learning, like how you would define it, and also how, in your opinion, how do you think it's different from textbook learning, like the main differences?
Okay, so if we talk about human nature, because we are dealing with students, our live products in front of us. So human nature is related to storytelling. We all know that. We love to hear stories. We love to stories. If you take media examples, if you take any advertisement examples, so storytelling is such an art that was, and that is, and that will be, I think, the main core of the human nature. So basically learning through games, or if you can say gamification, they both are different things, but if we put them together for a while, so I think they are something that are going to intrigue our students immediately in a classroom. The game of chess, it was made for building up some strategic thinking, And through playing that game, you build up how to, have that strategic thinking, how to have that situational intelligence, and how to work at the same time. You are thinking, you are communicating, you are participating, you are collaborating. So gaming and learning, they go hand in hand. The idea of kindergarten, learning through play, was developed in 1800s, and since then we are looking at the students, the amount of students willing to go to school. They really want to go to school, especially the young tender age, because at that time they have fun in school. So when you are teaching and you are applying some games in that, you are not only engaging your students, plus you are letting them take control of that material. While I'm playing a game, I feel like it's my game, it's my reward, it's my achievement. So I'm going to take control of that. I won't feel that somebody's guiding me or somebody is telling me how to do it, what to do. So it's the concept of ownership through games. So I believe games apply and games help the teachers a lot. And you will be a very energetic and, the favorite teacher in class as well, if you apply some games in your, lessons. Similarly, building a game is just like building a lesson plan. You have to think about it. Your games should relate to the subject matter that you are teaching. So it's not that let's go to a classroom and let's play football today. It's not possible, right? You have to manage, you have to develop, you have to link that idea of your game, whatever the game is. Secondly, the most important thing, Lana, I believe buying some expensive tools for games or buying some subscriptions for games, that's not the idea. You can have simple tic-tac-toe game in the class with the students, right at that moment, solving a maths quiz. Or you can simply have a riddle session in the class. Let students think about the topic. Or you can just write a wrong sentence on the board and let students figure it out. What's that wrong sentence? And, humans are very capable of, taking mistakes out. So a teacher can be a magician, a teacher can be an actor, a teacher can be a painter at that moment in the class. So it's really in your hand to twist the game. So basically, we are always playing a game in the class. So I think to me, it's something, very adaptive and a very real approach towards the cognitive skills and all that.
Yeah, I think, I'm like, you expressed it so well. Wow, like, okay, so what I really liked about your answer, like you said, for example, about chess playing, right? So it teaches you the strategic thinking, right? So the critical thinking also maybe. And so, for example, like when we learn how to play games, like it also affects other areas in our lives, right? And also the way we learn something, right? And also, I really loved it what you said, that teachers are magicians, teachers are actors, teachers are entertainers. Like 100%, I agree with this. Yeah, you explained it so well. Something that I was thinking, like I also was preparing for this event, for this chat before, and I was thinking, like when I think about, like, of course, like when all of us hear the word games, of course we understand it's about like playing, like some games, right? Physical, or maybe like maybe some mental games, or different kind of games. So when I think about games, like there are two things that come to my mind. So first, the games can be related to learning and teaching, and there are games that can that are not related to learning and teaching, right? And I believe that of course, like it's important, like what you mentioned, like you've been talking about games that are related to learning and teaching, and also like strategic thinking, critical thinking, analytical thinking, like it develops different kinds of thinking, right? But also sometimes I think that we can play games that are not related to teaching, right? Because this can also, like you said, for example, like as teachers, like as educators, we need to entertain our learners, like, and sometimes like even age doesn't matter, right? So I believe like playing games, in my own opinion, whether they are related to teaching and learning or when they are not related to teaching and learning, still people can have fun, people can be entertained, and that's a good thing to have in a lesson. And also another important thing that you mentioned about playing games, that they have to be also related to real life settings, right? Like if I play this game, how can I apply it in real life, right? how can I benefit in a certain situation? For example, if I learn certain skills like from playing this game, how can I benefit from it in real life? So I believe that just like a little bit like to complete your answer, like so that dynamic, right? Like they create a very dynamic atmosphere and facilitate and foster our teaching and learning process, right?
Exactly. Plus, Lana, it helps to build the teamwork as well, because when you're it's the matter of teamwork. The team has to win. It's not about individual winning at that moment, right? It's a team, or it's a class winning from the other class. So it develops the idea, you know, the 4 C's of 21st century: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity. Games also help us to, you know, develop all these skills as well, because when you are playing a game, 2 people playing the same game, it depends how creative you are to think differently, to think out of the box at that moment. So I think games, adding them into your curriculum, adding them into your lessons, it not only creates and enhances the spirit of the class, but it also increases the learning ability of the students. And especially if you are teaching some young learners, I think most of the teachers nowadays are teaching Generation Z, right? So, and most of the teachers are millennials, if we are not talking about talking about recent teachers. So most of the teachers are millennials teaching a Z generation child. So it has to be something that is related to that child, that is, you know, according to that aura the child lives in. If you see a classroom of 1800, or if you see a classroom of 1900, do you think the classroom of 2022 is similar, or it is different?
Yeah, so absolutely different.
Yeah. Technology is changing drastically, rapidly. But what about education system? We need to bring in that element that the child should relate to us, right? They should not take us as somebody, okay, somebody who's there, and I cannot ask a question and I cannot relate to that person. Try to be in that shoes at that child living in 2021, coping with all COVID situation and everything. Let's bring some nice fun element in the class to just, you know, break down all these you know, things that we have been living in the past 2 years. So I think that can be a fun element in the class as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. Another interesting thing that you brought up that actually I haven't thought about myself, that like we're teaching Generation Z, right? So this is and we are Generation X, Y, we are Generation Y. So, right, so like it's so important to be on the same page, right, with this generation. And of course, like you mentioned, like if we compare teaching, for example, 100 or 200 years ago, right? So like now, like everything is changing so rapidly, like you said, rapidly and drastically. And especially if we work with kids, like with teenagers even, I think, right? Yes. So it's so important to be on the same page with them. And how can we be on the same page, just like you said, to follow all these new trends, all these new games? Because sometimes in my lessons, like when we start talking about something, for example, like what do you do in your free time, and they tell me like, oh, like I play games, and then I go like, what games do you play? And then they tell me like all these games that they play online, and then they ask me like, do you know these games? And I'm like, no, I don't know these games, right? Yes. So like this is a very good example that we are like maybe not on the same page with these things. I mean, like maybe sometimes it doesn't have much relevance to the lesson, but still students, learners, they want to see that their teacher understands them, right? So so it's not like here it's not about teaching, but about like building this bond with the students to exactly. See that like you both understand each other, what you are talking about, like even if it's something like if we are talking about games. So yeah, I love this point what you mentioned. Yeah,
thank you.
Yes, so I would like to share also, so before this event, I've posted some these questions also on our page on this event that we created, and I really loved some answers what like some people replied, so I would like to also to read these answers. So some people said that students learn without knowing it, something that I completely agree. So by playing games, our students can learn some new information, and it can be anything, and they even do not realize that they are learning it, right? So that was a fantastic answer, I think. Another person said that also it ignites the competition, right? So people like to compete, and especially I think like all age categories, whether it's young learners or teenagers or adults, right? So like all of us like to compete because like we need some, how can I say, some spark in the lesson, right? So it's not always, you know, like a bookish, boring English that we are learning, right? It's like something, a little bit of variety, a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of fun. Right, yes. So some people also said that it improves social interaction, just like what you said, that also it helps to establish this like interaction or communication bond between the teacher and the learners. Yeah, and people said that, yes, it's motivating, it's engaging, it's entertaining, and fun. And yeah, I absolutely agree with this. So, yeah.
And I would like to add a point here. You mentioned
Yeah.
about competition, right? We all know that whenever we have a test, we have to get marks on that or grades on that. And then if I get a good grade and somebody is not getting a good grade, so I feel some kind of embarrassment over there. Obviously, right? Being in a classroom, sometimes there can be failure, sometimes there can be success, sometimes there can be something normal. So I believe when you are playing a game, and even if you fail in that game, so there is not that kind of an aura in the class, oh God, I'm so, I'm lagging in something, or I'm not capable of doing that thing. So game create a safe environment to learn. Failure is a part of your life. Failure is a part of your teaching. Failure is a part of your success. So by playing these games, you are understanding in a way that, okay, somebody can fail at one attempt, but you can get successful if you keep on trying that same game again and again. You can master that art. So I think gaming helps you to create a safe environment where children are not facing that failure sign or failure, embarrassment. So it's a safe zone. It's a learning zone for them. So they can learn, even if you are not successful, even if you are the number 2, even if you are number 3. So you can be able to find that place if you are practicing, if you are working hard towards that goal. So gaming help us to achieve student, gaming, goals, achievement. It's a process. It's a chain that has to be connected. So, and it has to go back, obviously, like a circle. It has to have a loop inside it. So I think gaming can create wonders if done appropriately and if managed appropriately. And it's not that every class should be a fun class. Obviously, sometimes you have to teach some serious subject or serious matter in a subject. So it depends how you are twisting that. For example, I was teaching punctuation. So I thought, let them learn it by themselves. So writing the date, and I wrote Tuesday with a small t. So the child promptly, pick up my mistake. Oh, teacher, you have written it wrong. It should be capital because it's a proper noun. So sometimes adding these fun elements can be a game in your class too. So I think there are millions of ways if you want to, just add some spice in your classroom.
Yeah, exactly. It's like how the way you put it, like adding some spice in your classroom. Yeah, I love your ideas. Yeah, your ideas. I'm just impressed with your ideas. Yeah, I really loved what you mentioned about failure because it creates like a safe competition, right? Because like, of course, like if it's a game, maybe there are games when people compete, right? So, and when people compete, of course, it means that there are some winners and there are people who are going to lose, obviously, right? And especially if we talk about teaching young learners, of course, like kids can have different kinds of emotions when they lose, for example, or fail. And like you mentioned, but the important thing about it that like you keep it like a loop or a circle, so you repeat it in the future again, right? So there's like one more chance for these learners to win, right? So that will ignite the competition, like to compete and try again, right? To attempt one more time, and you can keep doing it like all the time, right? Until like each time, like each person can be a winner, right? So yeah, I really love this answer. That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
like Rudyard Kipling put it, try till you succeed. So that's the idea, that you have to work hard to achieve that goal, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Try and try. Yes, and actually this is something like we've spoken before. If we relate it to, for example, real life settings, right? So that teaches actually on a much deeper level, especially kids, I would say, like young learners, right? Like how to, for example, because all of us fail, right? Like we experience failure at some point, right? And how to not to get disappointed, right? Because you have it somewhere like at the back of your mind, maybe, right? Maybe you're not thinking about it like consciously, right? But it stays at the back of your mind that like maybe, yes, I played the game and okay, and this time I lost, and then I lost, and maybe no matter how many times you lost, still there was a moment when you won. And this can be related also to real life situations, when maybe you apply for a job, when maybe you apply to study at the university. So different kinds of situations. So that's plants a seed in their memory, in their mind. It's like, if I fail now, I will succeed in the future, right? Yeah, that's very interesting point.
We all need to learn this. Not even the children, everybody needs to learn this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, thank you so much. And I really loved your example, what you mentioned about like teaching errors, right? Like when you put like the lowercase like day of the week, right? So, and they started like, especially you know, like in my country, people are very how can I say, like very focused on grammar, right? Like if something is incorrect, like they will not be able to focus or concentrate on anything else until like this thing gets corrected, right? So like this is something also that will make it memorable, I guess, right? So that's like our next question, right? Like how we can ignite and enhance like game-based learning, right? So such things will make it memorable, right? And yeah, this is something that our learners, regardless of their age, like will remember still like later in real life situations.
Exactly.
Right? Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. And also another thing, also I was thinking myself, just what I've experienced, that for example, when we work with like different age categories, like this part maybe it's more like about adults, I would say. So when we apply, so now a lot of people like to apply communicative approaches, right? Like PPP or TBL, or there's lots of them. And for example, like I remember when I did CELTA, and also when we did Delta together, maybe you remember this. So we had to follow a certain pattern, right? Like especially like the most popular communicative approach is presentation, practice, production, right? So I learned it right after, like I got feedback from the tutors and so on, and I tried to incorporate it in every of my lessons. And in the beginning, like it worked really well because it has a very good structure. People loved it, people learned it. It had all the necessary features in the lesson, like controlled practice, like freer practice, and so on. But then I realized, like, if I do it all the time, no matter how perfect it is, like this approach or the teacher, maybe everything can be super perfect, right? But students, like, yes, they don't know the technical terms for it, but they start picking up like what the teacher is going to start a lesson with, what is going to follow next, what is going to be at the end of the lesson, right? And if it gets repeated like all the time, again, like I repeat, it doesn't matter how perfect this approach is and how perfect and smart the teacher is, right? So students, sooner or later, I promise, students get bored. This is what I've observed in my practice. So it's so important to like to vary, like you said, to add spice, right? Spices. And especially like games can be a very good tool how we can make it more varied, right? Our teaching.
Exactly. Like example, Kahoot. You know, when you are playing Kahoot, the children are so excited, and one question can change your position. You can go from number 1 to number 2. So for attaining that position, or, you know, sustaining that position, the children have to work hard and they have to be quick. So I think different apps, they're different teaching apps there are already helping us through all these things. Repetition do have some, sometimes it can be a positive impact, sometimes it can be a negative impact, because I remember when I was a child, I need to learn times tables, and it has to be repetitive, because you cannot learn tables unless and until you repeat them like millions of times. So my mother used to, she never gave me breakfast unless and until I have to tell her 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever tables she gave me for the learning. So before my breakfast, I have to revise all those tables, and I have to recite to her, and through repetition I learn them. But obviously, let's talk about attention span. I was reading an article. Microsoft did a study in 2000, and the attention span of a student at that time was 12 seconds. 12 seconds was the attention span in 2000. Let's talk about 2017, before the COVID times. The attention span dropped to 4 seconds, and it remained to 8 seconds. Do you know what is the attention span of a goldfish?
That's a good question, I guess.
The attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds, more than a student, more than a human at this moment. And I don't know what has COVID done to the retention and the memory and all those things, because everybody has been through a trauma or something. So if you have 8 seconds to grab the attention of your student, just tell me, what can you do in those 8 seconds? So a teacher has to be on toes all the time, taking up a bag with her. There is an invisible bag with the teacher all the time, where there are lots of, some knicks and knacks and some puppetry or some magic element in that bag. So a teacher is really a magician. So that is why games plus different activities plus different approach plus different things, it has to be situational sometimes. For example, yesterday I was in a meeting, and there was a teacher who talked about there was a very restless child in her class who was not willing to be at that moment, getting up from his chair, disturbing others. When the teacher asked the boy, what's the problem? Why are you not focusing today? So he said, do you know, yesterday my sister was born, and she's so pretty, and this is her name, and this is what. So he has a whole story to tell. So at that moment, what was important for that teacher? Just to listen to that boy for just 2 to 3 seconds or a minute. But after that, listening, after he went out, the boy was perfectly fine, sitting quietly, doing his work. And he felt so proud that he had something to share with the class. So you have to give room to your students, let them discover, explore, listen with you. So you have to be a listener, you have to be an explorer, you have to be a discoverer for them, because they should think that, okay, she or he's there to listen to me whenever or whatever I have to say. So try to be friendly. If you are friendly, you won't need to, add up all these things to your class as well. You have to be someone who's listening. On the other hand, you have to be someone who's authoritative at that moment as well, because you can't let everything, go to your students' hands as well. So there is a very clear balance between a teacher and a student. Now, there is a very beautiful relationship between a teacher and a student. So it depends. We all are wonderful teachers. We all are, changing lives. We are mentoring them. So take privilege. We are a shepherd to them. So, shepherd is something that has a great respect, and it has wonderful aspects as well. But I think the discussion is going in some other way. Let's get back to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this fantastic answer and for these examples that you gave. Yeah, I like this statistics and this research experiment that you spoke about. So the attention span of a learner is 8 seconds, you said, right? So we can only imagine now. So if we talk about also, so now like about 2 years ago, so everyone had to switch to online teaching and learning, right? So we can imagine how also it affected everyone, because it did affect everyone. I believe, yes, some people, I believe like teachers and students started feeling more comfortable maybe, but also from what I've studied, what I've observed, like people who I've spoken to, they said that they would like to go back to face-to-face and normal teaching and learning. So we can only imagine just like to to talk about this example of yours that you gave, that like if it's online, it became much more difficult to retain this attention of learners, right? So that's why like it's so important to like make it varied, right? And also, like you said, to be a good listener, right? Like if someone wants to share something, like it's so important like not to cut them off, right? Because it will be so demotivating for them. But like but also at the same time to have this line, right? Like where you don't let them take control of the class, but like keep this line where they can share. You can ask some questions and share this like happiness or sadness with them, whatever it is. But again, like it's important to stick to some like structure of the lesson. Yeah, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. So if we talk about using a game-based approach with adults, because we've spoken mainly about young learners. So and also this is one of the questions that I posted before on Facebook, and some people said that like it depends on the class. For example, if you should or shouldn't apply it with adult learners. Some people said that it should be at the end of the class, because I also asked like how often or when you should do it, right? So what are your thoughts like about like applying game-based approach with adult learners, and also when we should do it, like in the beginning of the class, in the middle of the class, at the end of the class? So your ideas on this.
Lana, you look so pretty.
Thank you so much. You too.
Did you like this comment? It made you smile. See, so it's human nature when we praise, when we, give some encouragement or some motivational comment, instantly we are focused. We are more, you are listening to me better than previously you were listening to me, because it motivated you instantly. Praising somebody, just tapping on a student's shoulder, it motivates them. Similarly, games. If you enter in your classroom and you give a smile, a pleasing smile, or you just talk about, wow, what a nice weather today, or wow, what a sunny day today, or I am so happy today because I have something amazing to share with you. So just one line, one sentence, one smile, one gesture, it can add up to that level where you don't need to, pull up your socks and, bring up some elements into that. So I don't think so there is a hard and fast rule that you have to apply games first or later or in the end of your lesson. It depends what you are teaching. If you are teaching something very boring, then you have to be very, sparking and smiling and shining so the children can get attention towards that. For example, because I have to teach creative writing, and it is boring sometimes because creative writing is not a cup of tea for everybody, especially when you are teaching some boys, right? They don't want to write creative writing, but they have ideas, they want to express it. So what we can do is we can give them something that, help them to be motivated, help them to write. Why should I write such a long story when I can just tell you in few words? So you have to motivate that student. So it depends on the subject matter. It depends on the course. So gaming and making energetic, because, Lana, do you remember a teacher from your childhood?
Sorry, what kind of teacher?
Do you remember any teacher from your childhood?
From my childhood, yes, I do.
Okay, what was something that you remember?
That's a good question. I remember that, okay, that's interesting, but I'm going to say that most of the lessons were very boring for me.
But you remember something amazing about the personality, maybe?
Most of them never had this, like human connection with the students. That's the only thing that comes to my mind. And this is like, maybe they knew their subject very well that they were teaching, but again, like for example, when I studied at school, I would say like two things that come to my mind. I never saw that, like now when I contemplate on the approaches that the teachers applied when I was at school, I think they didn't have any approaches. It was just like you come to class, you check homework, and then you teach something in a very explicit way, and then you do exercises right away, and everyone is confused, and then they give homework, and then that's all, right? So that's the first thing. And I think it was everywhere like this, probably not only in my country. When I talk to people from other countries, they share the same things. Another thing is that I never felt that teachers tried to make a friendly approach to students, right? Sometimes, like, sometimes they would reprimand the students, like, about not doing their homework, or like they were not, you know, like they really had a lack of emotional intelligence. Like they didn't make any effort into establishing this connection and bond with students. So these two things that come to my mind. Yeah, I know that they are negative, but that's what comes to my mind.
Yes, perfectly fine, Anna. That's very truthful of you. Yes, we remember good teachers. We remember bad teachers.
Yeah.
Remember average teacher. So it's your choice to be a good teacher, or it's your choice to be a bad one. So good teachers, we can remember, okay, the teacher was very friendly. The teacher was very connected. The teacher was very, helpful. The teacher was willing. The teacher was always there to help me. Or the teacher was very rude. I never had the chance to talk to her. Or I was so afraid of the teacher, I couldn't ask. Or because of that teacher, I started hating that subject. It happens most of the time. So it depends. The teacher can make or break at the same point. So playing games is just basically the idea behind everything, whatever we are talking about. The idea behind is how to be connected, human interaction, bonding, because we have friends, we have families, right? How many hours we spend in a school, the best time of our day, from morning till afternoon, most of the schools, or till evening. The best part, the best years, the best days are spent in school. So we should have some nice, good memories. We should have some connections. And human exposure and human interaction is the best teacher, I believe. And teach you better than a book, right? So all these things help you to develop yourself as a good teacher and to help you connect to your students. So I think next time, whenever we are planning our lessons, just think about, I am planning for this age group, right? And I'm planning this subject. So how can I make it more interesting? How can I make it more relatable? How can I make it more, user-friendly? Or how can I make it more like it can help them in their life? It should be a lifelong lesson. So it depends. If you are putting up your effort, I don't feel like you are not giving a good lesson, or you are not, giving the right approach to your students. So it just depends on the teacher and the subject and all that, whatever you are teaching, plus the age group, obviously. But everybody, believe me, even if I'm at this age, or even if I'll be 10 years later, if somebody's giving me a reward, or if I'm going to a party and there are some goodie bags, it would motivate me immediately. Rewards is a system that helps human being to work hard for that. Do you know the gamification approach? The gamification approach is basically, series of tasks where you are getting some incentive, a reward, a badge. The biggest brands in the world are using gamification. For example, Nike. Nike has used gamification. They are giving tasks to their customers. They have to play games. It's an app. They have to play a game on that. Then they can earn some coupons and then they can redeem them. Even if somebody is so rich, he doesn't want that coupon, but still the person is in that game just to achieve that thing. So achievement is a part of human nature. So whenever, wherever, whatever age you are, it's always an incentive. Oh, I got this, something free, some free candy on Christmas, or some free candy on Halloween is just a good example for an adult or an old age person or a young child. Everybody wants to, have that free thing in life, something amazing. So when the teacher is setting some goals, okay, if you do this, you will be getting this thing. Or if you do this, you will be moving on to the next task. That task is really harder or critical thinking task. Okay, now you do this, you are going to another level of achievement. So it's not that the teacher should start giving candies in the class. It has to be a level of, rewards. It can be a nice comment in the notebook, a nice way of writing, rather than writing good, you can have something amazing. You did a brilliant job, right? So some motivational concepts, some motivational lines, some nice gestures can be a part of reward. And appreciation is something that's, something really important for any age. So games are also very important for any age. Team building is a part of game, and gaming is a part of our life.
Yeah, thank you so much for your answer. Yeah, I really loved what you mentioned about motivational psychology, right? Motivational intelligence. That's really important. Like, for example, this trick that you tried with me about giving me a compliment, right? Like when you give a compliment to someone, like people start feeling so different immediately, right? So
Exactly.
that was such a nice trick. I really loved it. Okay, and also, yes, what you mentioned, like, so I've asked many people, like just from my experience, for example, when you were at school, like what was your favorite subject? And they say, like, for example, they say biology, English, chemistry, like whatever, it doesn't matter. And I say, what did you like about it? And you know what most of them answer? Most of them say that we liked the teacher. So, okay, I think,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
Maria, are you here? Okay, because
I'm
you,
here.
okay, and most of them said that they loved their teacher, right? So what makes something memorable is the teacher, right? So, but
Okay.
sometimes I would say on a rare occasion, on a more rare occasion, yes, learners, young learners can be more conscious and they can say, I just like the subject. Like maybe I don't like the teacher a lot, but I still like the subject. But this is something more rare because usually at school you like the subject just because of your teacher, right? Yeah.
That's
Another
true.
yeah, another thing that I was going to mention about applying games with adults. So I've had a lot of experience. Like, so most of the classes everywhere in the world, like for adults, they are in the evening, right? When people can attend classes after work. So when people go to classes after work, like at 6 or 7, 8 p.m., so like how do you think people feel? Of course, like they feel tired, right? They don't feel excited and energetic each time, right?
I
Like,
didn't know.
so
Yes.
people will come to lessons tired, right? And how do you
Yes.
like how do you keep them motivated, for example, to complete, for example, one course, maybe proceed to another course, another level, right? So it's so important, like not only like, yes, you can be a professional teacher, you know about approaches, like, and all these things, right?
Mhm.
But still, like, people are people, right? Like, and I got some feedback from people like who just said that, like, I don't feel, for example, like sometimes like motivated or something like that, right? So it's so important, like, to, especially when people come tired from work, right? So this is not another place where they should get even more tired, right? With a lot of, for example, exercises, so very complicated grammar or lesson, right? Like this. So so especially games, like, and I can mention, like, it doesn't have to be, like I mentioned in the beginning, it doesn't have to be some games, for example, that are related to teaching, right? It can be just something like for a few minutes, like 3 or 5 minutes, like you can say, like, come on, like, stand up, and like you can line people, like in front of facing each other, in front of each other,
Yes.
and then you can say, for example, like, just something what I did. And I can share this example. So for example, I say, like, I give them numbers between 1 and 4. So for example, if I say 1, they should jump. If I say 2, they should squat. If I say 3, they should do, like, so you can invent, right? You can make things up. And you know, like, it's not related to teaching, they're not learning anything, but this is like so important,
Exactly.
something that you can start your lesson with, or something that you can do in the middle of your lesson, especially if it's a long one, a long stretch, right? So something like to keep their attention, because like people like this, like, right? Like, even though, like, even adults, right, like, still inside, I believe, like, we have like a kid inside us, like, throughout all of our life, right? So like such things are so
Exactly.
important, like, to not to have people lose their attention, but like and also, like, after work, like, why not play a game like this, even if it's not related to teaching,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And most of the companies, Lana, the brand companies, they are engaging their employees through games. So the games are adding into their critical thinking, their skills as well. Plus, it is increasing the motivational level, because when you are in a game, you are stress free at that moment. Okay, something, even if you're teaching something, inside that game, it's a part of a game. So people take it as something free, something easy, something relaxed at that moment. And especially you are talking about the adults who are coming to learn in the evening, are mostly learning the second language. So it's already in their mind that, oh God, it is something very tough that we have to learn. And it is something, you know, for their job maybe, or for their career growth, or for their admissions or something. So it's already a burden in their mind that I have to get through this course. So when you are making things easier for them, they will be showing you more brilliant results rather than, you know, teaching them for hours and hours and just forcing them to memorize, you know. So through games, through light chit chat, or through some sessions, talking sessions, maybe you can take them to a canteen and just sit there and, okay, let's have a burger today and let's talk to each other. So, you know, it can add into so many different things. It can, you know, make wonders, especially.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And like you mentioned that, for example, like, let's say like we have a group of learners, right? And during, like, after classes, like they have some feelings, right? Like maybe they don't realize something during the class, but after the class, for example, they think about going to class like next time, right? And of course, like as humans, we have feelings. So maybe they, like, students don't remember, for example, approaches, like, or even teachers sometimes, but they remember how they felt, right? So they remember like, oh yes, I want to go there because like it was fun, right? I mean, like we played the game, and like maybe, yes, even they don't remember anything sometimes, but they have a feeling like, yes, I want to go because like it was fun, right? Because nowadays, like, it's the world has become so how can I say, stressful, right? Like there are so many stressful things. Like I just, like, every day, like I swear, I talk to so many people from different countries, and every person says exactly the same thing, how stressed they are. Stressed, depressed, these are the words that I hear every day from all walks of life, from all countries, people who I talk to. So it's such an important thing that, like, learning English or learning any other language or maybe any other subject, it's not only about learning, but also about the social interaction that we are lacking so much nowadays, right? And especially that we had to switch to like online. So, and in order to make it like more human, how we can do this, right? By playing games, by releasing this tension, right? Like this stressful atmosphere. So it's so important. Yeah. Also, when I think about like teaching online, I think like most of us probably teach online. I don't know, like, do you teach online now or face to face?
Now we are doing face to face, but past 2 years it was online. So it was also wonderful and a very different experience altogether.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just, like, I know that still, like, but again, like, we don't know about the future, right? Like tomorrow we can wake up and again something happens. So like the future is very like uncertain, very unpredictable now. So when I think about like teaching online, like it added an extra level of complication, because like, of course, it's more difficult to adjust, like how, for example, how we can play games online or how we can make it more interactive, right? Or communicative, right? So just like if I'm allowed, like I can share some things, like if that's okay. So so what I do is, yeah, so thank you. So what I do in my classes, so like, and also it can be applicable with teenagers, with kids, with adults, right? So for example, if it's a physical class, it's easy, like you can say like, okay, everyone stand up, everyone squat, everyone do this and that and so on, right? But when it's online, it adds like more complexity. So what I do is, for example, how I can make them move. So I ask them, for example, to bring a picture, right? So they can show like an actual picture and not a picture on their phone, or they can bring a pet sometimes, right? So so they go and look for their dog or cat or right, or maybe some clothes, right? If they talk about Halloween, okay, I went to Halloween, this is my costume, right? Or food, maybe they say like, oh, I just cooked something, and I say like, can you show it to me? So that makes them stand up, they go and get it, and then I ask them questions about it, right? And people like to share such things, right? Especially like if we don't share the same culture, like they come from different cultures and countries, and I ask them, for example, like, how does it smell, or how does it make you feel, or or can you describe it, or like does it make some noise, or for example, right, if it's a cat or dog. So like you can invent like different kinds of questions. So this is one of my tricks that I do also to make people
very interesting.
Yeah,
very
so
interesting. I think you are adding so many senses, so it's a brilliant idea, wonderful idea. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think this is also something, also another thing that I was going to bring up, that like before I used to think that gamification, this is one of the modern words, right? I thought that game-based learning and gamification, very difficult words to pronounce. So I used to think that these were the same things. But I realized that they are actually a little bit different. And the difference is that like game-based learning, it's when you play actual games online or offline, and gamification. So this would be like things like, for example, just like I mentioned, right? Like show your cat, right? Describe your cat, right? Or so this would be some elements of games, right? So this is something that I didn't know myself before. I just learned it before this event. And yeah, do you have any other thoughts or anything you'd like to share?
Basically, I believe games not only add in one subject, it can be an integration of different subjects too. You can teach 1 or 2 or 3 subjects together through a game. For example, maths, English, science, it can be collaborated. And then the students can, you know, rather than, okay, this is my lesson, now this is my maths lesson, or this is my English lesson. One combined lesson, if you are teaching online, it can be integrated as well. The other thing that you said about describe your food, or how does it smell, or how does it taste, it's a very great idea to add senses and then write about those senses, because whenever you bring that human element into your teaching or into your any kind of learning, it certainly relates to everyone immediately. You don't have to prepare a whole situation, or you don't have to, you know, prepare a background for that. Immediately everybody can see, okay, this is a barbecue sandwich, oh, it smells like that. Okay, it has these ingredients. Now you can imagine a barbecue sandwich in front of you. I can see a barbecue sandwich in front of me, the color, the shape, the size, the taste. We all can relate to that. Similarly, emotions, the things that we are, you know, collaborated with each other, they immediately have a great effect and impact. So if you bring those lively things or the real life examples in your classrooms, it creates wonders. It has a great effect. Plus, keep in mind, Generation Z, Generation X, and Generation Alpha is really different. We have to keep in mind the age group that we are teaching. But games, rewards, incentives, and praise and motivation, I think it's for the first human till the last human. It's going to be the same thing, right? So yeah. Some of the things can be there forever and forever, and some of the things you have to add or subtract into your teaching methodologies. But some of these things can be a great wonder and can be a great practice, no matter where you are and what culture you belong to or what subject you are teaching. These things are, you know, related to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. Another thing that I was going to mention, like you brought up the topic of Kahoot, and it's very popular everywhere. And just maybe some of you who are watching us right now. So if you play Kahoot, just some feature that I discovered with Kahoot, you can create your own Kahoot and adjust it to your lesson. So for example, if you are teaching vocabulary or grammar, or make a competition, for example, and you can do it. Another thing that you can do it, if it's online, you can do it with other schools, and you can do it even with schools from other countries, right? So you can imagine what kind of competition it will arise among the learners, right? So this is a fantastic thing, I think. Yeah. So, okay, thank you so much. So now, okay, I'm checking our live session on my phone. So if you have any questions for us, I can see lots of comments. Unfortunately, I cannot read all of them. So if you have any questions for us, and I'm sure you do have questions, probably, so please post your questions, and we will try to address your questions to the maximum and as much as we can. In the meantime, while we are expecting some questions, I would like to ask you, Maria, do you work with I know that you worked at school. Do you still work at school, or like what age category of students do you work with?
Okay, basically I'm working in a school that's a college as well. So I have children from age 5 till children age 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a vast variety, and it's a experience. It's a roller coaster ride every day, because we are, especially it's a boys' school. So we are also, you know, boys are really different from girls, no gender biasness, but being if you are teaching children, adults, obviously they are different from children. If you're teaching girls and boys, they are different. If you're teaching them together, it would be a different aura in the class. So all these ages have all different aspects. So you have to be very clear in your mind that what is your goal and what is your objective with that age group. Especially if you're teaching young learners, you can add more gaming, you can add more fun activities into your class, because obviously the young children are more attracted towards these things. But if you are teaching teenagers, then you have to add these gamification tools in your classroom. For example, Kahoot. For example, there are many, Game Ties is a very common tool that we can use. Archie Learning, where you are globally teaching in a classroom, flipped classroom, Google Classroom, anything like that, because teenagers are more into these technological things and, you know, tech word, and they feel so proud. Oh yes, I know more than my teacher. So that's the thing with them. If you talk about adults, then with adults, you can have physical, mental, emotional games. So it depends with the age group that you are teaching. You have to, you know, switch between these games with the level of your students' age group. So yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, thank you so much for sharing this. Also, I have like I will post this later. I have a list of games, for example, like a Hoot, and sorry, what was the one that you mentioned?
Game Ties. Game Ties.
Game Ties. Yeah, I never heard about this one. So you can play it also online, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Yeah, I also
Archie Learning. Yes, it's an app, basically. Archie Learning. It's a software, basically. It hosts global classrooms where you can interact with students from different countries, from different cultures, and they can, you know, talk to your students can talk to them. It's a live kind of student exchange, basically. So it's what learning, and it's a great idea as well to share knowledge between different regions and different countries. And sometimes you get a classroom from Africa and it's really different, the scenario, the you know, the classroom environment is altogether something different. So the children get motivated as well when they feel like, okay, you are so privileged, you are sitting in a very comfortable kind of a classroom, and somebody is not sitting in a very comfortable environment, or maybe not in a comfortable weather. So it's also, you know, again, the same thing, human connection. It made them motivation. So without words, you can teach them the differences and, you know, privilege, and how they should be thankful for all these things that they are getting.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting what you mentioned. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. Yeah, so maybe like after this session, so let's share, like I have my list and I'm sure you have your own list. So let's put this list together and we can post it also in the comments section. So so people can access it, right? So I know also others like categories, maybe you've heard about this one, and Word Wall is very popular also. And there's like a huge list of these games. So, and this one that you also mentioned, so like so it can be played online and also with schools and students from different countries, right? So let's put this list together and post it after our session, right? So people can check out. Okay, in the meantime, okay, there are some questions. So, okay, I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Khalil is asking how to relate the game to the objectives we have without getting distracted. So, so I guess like it's about like we have goals and objectives, right? Like to reach during the lesson. And if we play games, how do we make sure that students don't get too much distracted? So what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so basically, as we have already talked about, sometimes the games are related, exactly related to the matter that you are teaching. Obviously, you have to think and you have to prepare beforehand. Sometimes it has to be situational. You are in a classroom, you are teaching something, and immediately you feel like your students are not paying attention or something is very boring. So at that moment, you have to knit any game, anything that can be totally out of the context, out of the box. So for the games that have to be related to the context that you are teaching, obviously you have to prepare, you have to plan. If you have gadgets and technology available in your classrooms, for that you can involve all these gaming tools that we have mentioned, because Kahoot, all the subjects related, quizzes, plus presentations as well. So for these kind of games that you want to prepare for your lesson, specific lesson, you can add those games. But if you want to have a situation or a very simple kind of a game, then there can be millions of games. Lana, as you have mentioned about stand up and do something like that, asking your children to just close your eyes and listen to the poem I'm reading to you. It's also a game, right? Feel that poem, be emotional for that while. Or can you sit still for 5 minutes in a chair? It not only increases the attention span, it also, get the hyper child, get hold of himself. So these games can be something that are helping you, rather than they're not distracting your student, rather bringing them back. And even if somebody is dozing off in your class, if he feels like, okay, that child is having a game and the teacher is pinpointing that child, maybe he gets out of his dream world and gets back to your classroom as well. So games are, I think they are not distracting. They are rather a tool to attract your students back into your lessons.
Yeah, especially I like the example about dozing off. So yeah, it's a very good tool. Especially I think it's important, like if I'm allowed to add to this, like if it's important if it's in the beginning, right, to prepare students or learners for a period of concentration, or maybe in the middle of the lesson. But again, it depends like how long your lesson is, right? It depends on your lesson duration. Maybe I would say, like, if it's at the end of the lesson, maybe you can do some small things, but not like there's no point to play some, for example, some physical game to make students very excited, right? Because it's already the end of the lesson and they are going to go back home and have rest, right? So I guess it's important, like also when we do this, like maybe in the beginning and also in the middle of the lesson, to have some variety in the lesson. Yeah, thank you so much. Someone is asking, Hector is asking, can we do it with songs?
Yes, why not? It's a lovely idea. Maybe you can play a sad tune and you can ask your students, okay, so this is my mood today. What do you think? What are we going to do in the class today? So sometimes, music is something that is already also again related to human emotions. So playing a song, playing a nice tune, asking your children to close your eyes and feel the story, or feel if you are reading a story, or if you are playing a narration of a story or a poem or anything that you are doing, just it can also help them, Lana, calm down. Because your lesson is at the end of the day, the children are already tired, or they have already spent 5-6 hours of work or physical activities. Now they want something to soothe them out. So playing music, playing some soothing games can also help them retain their attention span. Plus it helps them to come back to the lesson. It helps them to feel again ready to adopt or absorb the new concepts that you are teaching to them. So obviously, yes.
Yeah, that's actually interesting what you said, that sometimes we can use it to energize the students, but sometimes we can use it like as a cooler at the end of the lesson, like to get them calm down, right? So yes, it's an interesting thing that, yes, games, it's not only about like energizing people, but also sometimes we can use it to cool them down. Yeah, that's an interesting thing what you mentioned. Yeah, thank you so much for this idea. Yeah, I think, yes. So if you have any more questions, please post them. I can see lots of comments, like people are also sharing their ideas and their experiences. And there's really lots of comments. I cannot, unfortunately, read all of them. Okay. Okay, so there's one question: how educators integrate gamification in school settings? Yeah, I think we've already spoken about it, right? So if you if you don't have, like, if you teach at a school, like maybe at some countries, I assume that there would be some like strict curriculum that you have to follow, right? And you don't have this flexibility that you can do like whatever you want in the class. So, but still, I think you can like incorporate and integrate these elements of gamification and games still in your lessons, even if you have some certain plan that you have to follow, but that is required by the institution where you work, right? So what do you think on this?
Lana, here comes the idea of creativity. Remain in the bounds of your curriculum, still you have room to evolve or invent something for your class. Nobody's stopping you. Even if you are teaching a restricted environment or restricted curriculum, and you know, teachers are always in a hurry to complete that curriculum or that syllabus within that time limit, but still, who's stopping you to make your class interactive? Or who is stopping you to make your class like something where there is a rush of knowledge passing through from students to teachers? Plus, I think games, we have to think about those games when we are inventing games. For example, I talk about tic-tac-toe. I think everybody in the world knows about the game, right? Or hide and seek, everybody knows about it. So why can't you just bring in something, create something and adopt it or adapt it according to your class level? Secondly, there should be something, games should know there are students, and students should know there are games. There should be a mutual transition of knowledge from students' part as well. Games should not be there only to, you know, have some physical or mental exercise. It can be something tricky, it can be something creative, it can be something nice. Even if you cannot do anything, just ask your children to draw something about the lesson today. What have you learned? Draw through an emoji. You know, we all are so fond of emojis now. We can send some faces and smileys to each other. So why can't you just ask your students, okay, at the end of this lesson, I want you to make up an emoji or make up a smiley face and show me, how did you like the lesson? Is it a sad face? Is it a funny face? It's a smiley face, or it's something that is a confused face. So just draw in the paper or the notebook, whatever you are teaching at, will let you know how the child is feeling, or will help the child to vent out as well. So it all depends on your creative aura of a teacher. You can build up whatever you want, the way you want to.
Yeah, and in that case, like, you can actually figure out better like how people feel, right? Like learners, right? Like if they draw up a face, like you said, for example, you can read, like, because students, like, they don't always feel comfortable sharing their emotions if they, for example, didn't understand something, right? Because they don't want to lose their face in front of others. So that actually will help you to understand much better how your students feel after class. Yeah, that's a wonderful.
Just a thumbs up or just a thumbs down, or just a high five. It can communicate. It can communicate. It's also a part of game. Na? It's not necessary that I have to buy or bring something to my class. It can be something situational.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, so one last comment, and I think we should wrap up. So Momo says, thank you so much, Maria and Lana. You both are amazing and genuine. Thank you so much for your feedback. Students' feelings are quite different every day when they come to class. Yes, absolutely agree. Physical games are really exciting when I teach them in person. They love laughing and having fun with their friends. I'm used to listen to my students, what they want to share about. Yeah, I think, like, yes, that's important point to mention, that, like, of course, like, as humans, have spoken about this a while ago, about emotional intelligence, that, like, as humans, of course, like, we are not robots and we have different emotions, right? So students come with different feelings and emotions to classes, and teachers also, right? So, but this is the role of a teacher. Like, it's so important to set up the tone for the whole class, right? To engage, to motivate, to make students have fun, laugh, right? And share whatever they want to share with their peers, right? So what do you think about it?
I've read somewhere, I've forgotten where, teaching is the only profession, Lana, where you are wholly and solely giving back to the society, right? And profession where young blood, the new generation, the new dynamics of your society are coming towards you. So the teacher will always remain young and energetic, because they have the new vibes coming to them, the new aura, the new the new blood, the new generation. So how can a teacher get boring, or how can a teacher get, in a bad mood when you have so many live examples sitting in front of you with different moods, different feelings? So I think teaching is a blessing, basically, if you take it in that way. Plus, when you are giving back to the society, it makes you feel psychologically and emotionally strong as well, that I am doing something. It's not something, getting back as a reward, but something inside here that makes you feel, yes, I have done something. I have played my part. So, keeping these things in your mind, it will make you energetic. It will make you feel lively. It will make you feel anti-depressed as well. So it's basically the children, they are something amazing. They are something that are teaching you at the same moment. It's not you giving them knowledge. You are taking a lot of things from them. So just, enjoy that two-way communication.
Yeah, and work like have a role not as a teacher where you teach explicitly and directly, right, but be like a guide, a facilitator, as you mentioned, right?
Yes,
Like just like yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. So yes, I guess we should wrap up now. So Maria, honestly I can say that I was so impressed with your ideas, and you shared a lot of interesting things that I had never thought about myself. I learned a lot personally from you, and I hope also our audience, you learned something that was interesting for you, that was motivational also for you. Thank you so much for your, I see that some people actually started like this communication with each other in the comments. That makes me so happy, because also another thing, by the way, that I spoke about this recently also in one of my webinars, that the role of a teacher also is not about teaching, right? But the role of a teacher also to bring people together, right? Not to separate people or, create some kind of negative emotions, but bringing people together. That's what's important, right? So, so I guess we achieved our goal, right? People are interacting with each other. I can see so actively and so nicely. And thank you so much for your interesting ideas. So I hope you guys, Thank you. Yes, thank you. I hope everyone who's been watching us, you gained some interesting ideas for yourself. I hope you feel motivated. I hope you feel inspired, and maybe you can also find some online fellow teachers, right, who you can start communicating with, so that would make us very happy, right? Because teaching is also about bringing people together, and this is what we try to do, right, also in this project. So the last thing that I would like to mention, that as I've spoken about this thing a little bit before, that now when everything is online, it's so difficult to have this like personal touch, right? To establish this personal touch with each other. And like this situation that we live in currently, like this pandemic situation everywhere, so like people feel very stressed, very depressed, and this is like so important, like not to get so overwhelmed with it, right? And by playing games, I believe that it really can help us to be a little bit more like sidetracked and distracted from all this chaos, and everything that's going on in the world now. And also, when I was preparing for this chat, something interesting came to my mind, right? Like these concerns about the point about playing games with adults, if we teach adults, right? So maybe some people might say that, for example, with adults, especially if you teach business people or some kind of exam preparation, or maybe if it's a serious course, maybe this cannot be very appropriate. But I can say, from my point of view, I would say that I disagree with this. I think games can be applied with in any kind of lesson, if it's a business English, in any culture also. And what came to my mind is, I'm sure that most of you, Maria, maybe you also watched this popular talk by Steve Jobs. It's about it's called How to Live Before You Die. I think, yeah, How to Live Before You Die. So at the end, his last sentence was, stay hungry, stay foolish, right? And when he says stay foolish, of course, it doesn't mean be idiots or be fools, right? Something like this. So the way I understand it, it means don't be too serious about things, right? And how can we be not too serious about things? We can release this tension, the seriousness with playing games. And even, like I said, if it's VIP people who we teach, if it's business people, no matter who we teach, this is how we can release this tension, especially in this situation of chaos, like that's absolutely everywhere now, right? And can bring people together also, right? Yeah,
that's wonderfully wrapped up, Lana, by you. And yes, that's what we need in this time, especially. And thank you for providing this platform. And I hope people will be sharing their ideas. They will be staying connected to each other, because teaching is something that we are learning every day. It's something new to me every day. It's something new to you every day. So keep on sharing your ideas, keep on writing to us, and let's hope to see each other again soon.
yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Maria. Thank you everyone who watched us. Again, our apologies for the tech issues in the beginning. Many thanks for your comments, for your questions. So thank you so much. Please stay healthy, please stay happy. Don't forget to smile, don't forget to play games that will release all this tension related to this chaos that's everywhere in the world now. So be happy, play games, stay safe, and don't forget not to be always too serious about things. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the future. Okay, bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye.